You stand in the shadowed yard of a crumbling stronghold, the air thick with acrid smoke and the tang of heated metal. It's the year 1218, and the once thriving city of Otrar teeters on the brink of ruin. Before you, a captive writhes in agony, his cries piercing the air, not the raw bellow of battle, but a high, moist rasp, as if his very core is searing from within. 4 warriors pin him firmly, arms locked, legs flailing vainly against the unyielding stone. Looming overhead, an executioner tilts a gleaming bronze vessel. Rivulets of molten silver, glowing white-hot and fluid as captured starlight, cascade in a steady, deliberate flow straight into his left eye socket. It doesn't scatter, it seeps. The prisoner's frame locks rigid. His jaws gape wide, but the wail chokes off mid-breath, dissolving into a strangled, bubbling gasp. The searing liquid surges onward, filling the void. The stench hits you, charred skin mingling with molten ore and an unnatural, cloying sweetness. A faint, sodden crack echoes as his cranium yields, like a fragile shell giving way under strain. Wisps of vapor curl from the ravaged openings in his face. At last, motion ceases entirely. You've borne witness to the demise of Inalchuk, the overseer of Otrar. His offense, slaughtering a delegation of Mongol traders and plundering their cargo. Messengers under the command of Genghis Khan, a ruler who didn't merely command vast domains, but forged innovative torments to safeguard them. This act transcended mere combat. It was a declaration etched in liquefied agony and shattered remains. By the time Genghis Khan dismantled the Khwarezmian realm, more than 1 million souls would perish. Urban centers evaporated from the map. Lineages were utterly extinguished, and the chain of devastation ignited right here amid the clamor and the gleam of liquid metal. The Mongol dominion, spanning from 1206 to 1368, engulfed 24 million square kilometers, an expanse dwarfing the Roman sprawl, outstripping Alexander's realms, surpassing any dominion history had known. Conquest wasn't limited to territory. They seized dread itself, honing it into a blade of intimidation. Yet that spectacle you observed, the cascading silver, the fractured dome of the skull, the damp hush that followed, paled against the horrors yet to unfold. Inalchuk held no trivial post. He watched over the western threshold of the Silk Road, the vital junction where eastern riches met western trade, where convoys ventured into Mongol lands shielded by the Great Khan's decree. And he shattered that safeguard. In 1218, a procession of 450 merchants arrived, laden with treasures beyond measure. Inalchuk branded them intruders, stripped their holdings, and put them to the blade. Their severed heads adorned pikes along the city's barriers. Genghis Khan dispatched 3 envoys seeking retribution. The Yomdai Shah of Khwarezm retaliated by decapitating 2 and stripping the beard from the survivor before dismissal. Such disdain toward Genghis Khan invited no renewal or mercy. 6 months on, Mongol forces breached Otrar's defenses. Following a grueling 5-month blockade, they hauled Inalchuk from his refuge in a granary tower, concealed among sacks of harvest. But the silver's role carried deeper symbolism. The Persian recorder Juvaini noted that the invaders smelted the very bullion Inalchuk had seized. They gauged its volume, fired it to incandescent purity, then exacted repayment via his features. 4 minutes of torment. The orbital hollow brims, yet the flow persists beyond the bone into nasal passages. The blaze cooks soft tissues. Liquids swell. Pressure mounts until the vault bursts. The auditory paths prove narrower, more confining. Silver collects in the inner chambers first, scorching the eardrum, trickling toward the mind seat. Deafness claims you prior to oblivion. Sightlessness before stillness. Inalchuk convulsed for 2 minutes, then stiffened. By the third, shallow breaths persisted, though his gaze was forfeit. Only silvery rivulets trailed his face like metallic sorrow. His remains lay exposed for 3 days. Upon relocation, his weighted crown thudded against rock, laden with pilfered wealth. The lesson was unequivocal. Pilfer from the Khan's traders, perish by your plunder. Every trader traversing Otrar grasped the peril. Yet lesser known is that this verdict was deemed restrained, as Inalchuk ranked merely as a provincial steward. 4 aristocrats who turned against the Khan faced shadows deeper than liquid flame. And the right set aside for elites needed no forge, merely a rug and steady mounts. A coarse rug sprawls in the dust. It's 1221. 3 commanders of the Khwarezmian domain are being enclosed in heavy woolen felts, not bound, but stitched, robust cords sealing the borders snugly. One officer voices dread even as the seams close. He anticipates the ordeal. Primal terror surges. They coil him compactly, limbs folded against the torso, features crushed toward the thighs. Motion is impossible, respiration, a labored effort. The fabric ensnares warmth, breath, echoes. His pleas emerge, muffled, remote. Then the bundles are aligned on barren soil, and the steeds approach, not charging, but ambling. A procession of riders advances in measured rhythm. Successively, each mount treads upon the bundled form. Within, the man senses his cage yielding. The initial tread merely constricts, expelling air from the chest. The second mount, the third. By the 10th, bones fracture in triple sites. Inhalation becomes a lancet of anguish, surpassing asphyxiation. Rashid al-Din chronicled this as a privilege withheld for the elite. Mongols held that noble vitae tainted the soil if shed, so they devised demise without incision. 15 to 30 minutes elapse. Limbs snap, thigh bones splinter like fresh timber. The basin shatters. The spine yields vertebra by vertebra, though cranial rupture arrives final. You endure the prelude, the moist snap of your frame imploding, all while the weave immobilizes you utterly. One officer endured 23 minutes. Unfurling revealed eyes unclosed, maw brimming with hemorrhage from ruptured innards. Lungs pierced by splintered ribs, no gashes, no surface marks. Formally, no vital fluid lost. Sans sanguine. But the pinnacle of malice. If positioned as the second, you absorb the prelude, the osseous fractures of the prior, the subdued clamor, the nearing cadence. Anticipation shattered resolve before the rite commenced. Still, such orchestrated dread targeted the singular. Theft from the Khan's coffers invoked elemental rites of renewal. A vast copper vat in Karakoram, ample for a huddled figure. 2 Han revenue agents siphoned from the Khan's levy, modest sums yet sacrosanct. Audits unveiled the deceit. No tribunal followed, only the vessel. They brim it with chill water, position it above a birch blaze kindled at first light. Haste is absent. The initial functionary observes as attendants align him above the rim, grips firm on the extremities. Descent is gradual. Toes graze the meniscus, not yet furious, merely warming. He vocalizes foresight of doom. The liquid scalds enough to flush his soul's crimson at once. To the shins, then pause. Held at the joints, allow the fervor to mount. The Yuan annals etched this in stark clarity, destined for every scribe's recollection across the realm. By the 3rd minute, dermal layers slough like sodden parchment. The broth tints rosy. The aroma, stewed flesh and ore. To the hips, his utterance evolves, visceral, throat raw from strain. Near the 5th minute, silence descends. Not demise, but vapors inward blaze, searing the larynx. Cords incinerated. Voiceless now, jaws agape, orbs protuberant, vitality intact, sensation unyielding, merely muted. Full immersion follows. The surge reaches frenzy. Crown submerges. 20 seconds of frenzy below, then deceleration, feebleness, cessation. Span, 8 to 12 minutes. Retrieval yields no humanoid form, epidermis absent in swaths, remnants pallid, tumid, rent asunder, visions opaque, stewed in their hollows. Displayed 3 days while the successor observes from confinement. On the final, he meets the broth anew. No fury drove this. In Mongol ethos, larceny was ethereal taint. Flame sanctifies, flood absolves. They exorcise the blemish publicly. Post-1232, graft in that domain plummeted near to null for generations. Dread formed no mere side effect of Mongol equity. Dread embodied equity. Yet these were precise reckonings, individual by individual. What ensued scaled to vast operations. A beacon discernible from afar, erected not of masonry. The reek announces itself 3 miles from Nishapur ere the site. Human effluvium, dense, clawing at the senses. Then the edifice reveals a 20-foot ziggurat of crania. Nishapur, 1221. The bastion felled Tokuchar, Genghis Khan's cherished son-in-law, amid the encirclement. Upon capitulation, the Khan's heir directed the purge, domicile by domicile. Every inhabitant, male, female, infant, dragged forth. Juvayni asserted 1,700,000 perished. Though inflated, the toll reached hundreds of thousands, heads preserved. Mongol artisans piled them pyramidally. Arrays of such mounds in lattices beyond the ramparts, orbital rings, tiers diminishing upward. Lime and mortar bound the skulls. The alkali retarded decay, bolstering endurance. Every tenth bore inscribed markers, tallies etched, a ledger even in carnage. Amid wholesale slaughter, documentation prevailed. The mound endured 3 to 5 years. Silk Road wayfarers beheld these osseous spires. Skulls gazed omnidirectionally. Some retained tresses, raven strands on feminine domes, plaited rigid. Males' whiskers caked in grit. The odor wafted miles. In swelter, it lingered half a journey off. Intentional design. Post-Nishapur, capitulation in Persia surged 70%. Tidings proliferated. Denizens internalized. Defy the horde, your pate adorns the vista. Yet Juvayni's grimmest note, certain bases entombed the living, compelling a captive, ofttimes patrician, into a trench, then layering crania incrementally. The basebound endured escalating burden. Audited additions, the squelch of binder, and omitted pleas. 4 hours, perchance a full cycle, damped by loam and bone and alkali. A spectral wail from the core. Silence marked completion, anchor of vitality, life's seal on the frame. 3 such at Nishapur. Not derangement, doctrine. Deliberate alchemy of flesh to missive, alerts persisting years, detectable afar. Even mass-scale intimidation lacked intimacy. For those who once pledged fraternity to Genghis Khan, a graver fate awaited, one transmuting 4 decades of bond into protracted torment. A figure lies prone, lashed to a timber beam. He is Jamuka. 4 decades prior, he and Genghis Khan forged elective kinship. As youths, they enacted the Anda rite, swapping talismans, vowing singular essence in dual forms. They pursued quarry jointly, clashed in unison, shared shelter through frosts where warmth meant endurance. Ambition sundered them. 20 years of strife. Upon Jamuka's route, forsaken by allies, he sought clemency, not survival, but a fitting end. Bestow honorable dispatch, he urged. The secret chronicle of the Mongols preserves his plea. Let no crimson stain the ground. He invoked the felt right, honoring their past. Genghis Khan regarded him at length, then mandated the beam. Mongol retribution eschewed caprice. It mirrored bonds. A traitor's blade for the unfamiliar. Swift resolution. But for cherished kin, elected blood, profundity demanded escalation. The dispenser aligns his edge at the nape. A single glide from collar to lumbar, dermis adipose to sinew. Crimson wells, courses bilaterally. A finer blade follows, keen and precise. It delves beneath the hide, retracts languidly, damp rending, bonds parting. Vertebrae gleam, pallid, cord veiled, costae arching aside, and Jamuka remains aware. The dorsum lacks swift vessels, epidermis and bulk may depart, vitality lingers minutes, 5, 8, perchance extended. Exposure chills forbidden expanses. Jamuka persisted 7 minutes, 4 in utterance attempts, lips stirring, phrases fled. 5th saw quivers cease, yet lids unlowered. Passage betwixt 6th and 7th claimed him. No flourish, mere fading void. His form lingered sand-sheltered near the Khan's pavilion a septet of days. Decree, sworn alliance voids upon fracture. Jamuka's appellation recurs once more in the chronicle, the once Anda, expired, dishonored, unspoken henceforth. Genghis Khan uttered it nevermore, not in 4 decades. True chastisement, not anguish, obliteration. You forsook alliance. Thus alliance voids your trace. Betrayal of pact merited erasure. Desertion, valor forsaken in fray? That summoned a right, merging 300 into terrain eternal. Supine, pegs through limbs, a fixed level. 1211, clash at Wild Lily Pass concluded. You fled, discarded steel, shed plating, collapsed afar. The horde perceived. Vigilance eternal. Now you and 300 kin in flight stake a meadow. Equine footfalls single file, 50 beasts, perhaps excess. Initial reaches the adjacent, treads, shanks, snap. Wail acute, keening, belly next. Utterance halts, moist rumble, your sequence at the 3rd. Hoof strikes tibia. 1,000 pounds on 4 inches, limb pulverizes. Incandescent torment lances. Contralimb mirrors, basin yields, profundity ruptures. Abdomen yields, compressing thoracic barrier. Breath denied. Beast pauses, equilibrates, advances. You wheeze, metallic tang, viscera breached, cognizance endures. Protocol spares crown till terminal circuits. 5 equines, 10, 15. 12th numbs limbs. Naught remains sentient. Osseous dust, fibrous mash. 16th rends costae. Burst, burst, burst. Each impales. Fluid inundation. 19th attains visage. Hoof descends. Ferruginous arc eclipses light. Impacts brow. Vault yields. 800 pounds to fissure. Beast exceeds. Instant suspension, then internal thunder. Vista blanches, vermilions, ashen, nullity. Upon cavalry cessation, sword resembles furrowed plot. 300 forms erst men, indentations in mire, leveled, fragmented, fused to sod. Emblem, recoil in melee, retribution is trampling. Pulverized into the very loam, evaded. Rare though this, rarer still, one right invoked twice soul in Genghis Khan's epic, demanding quadruped traction and grim calculus. 4 steeds, 4 chords, 4 vectors. You central. You infiltrated Ong Khan's encampment, venomous edge concealed. Breached the flap air detection. Bare now. Stout fiber encircles each appendage terminus. Extended 15 meters to chargers. Splayed avian on turf. Arbiter elevates palm, descends, quartet surges, frame indecides direction, toutons, then coxa disjoints. 30 seconds tension, fibers rend sequentially, limb detaches wholesale, dermis rends, vital arc, awareness holds. Contra limb, 30 seconds. Disjoint, rend, arc, torso and pair of superiors remain. Aware. Dexter superior, 40 seconds. Severed, sinister pursues. Head and core alone, appendageless, seeping. Cycle, 3 to 4 minutes. Demise nears 3rd or 4th severance. Emblem impeccable. You sought to sunder Khan from vitality. Thus Khan sundered you from extensions. Rashid al-Din attested duality in Genghis Khan's span, both regicidal bids before legions entire. Post-1235, 3 decades sans chronicle of Khanly assaults. Assay the sovereign, your form computes. 4 traction, 4 members, 4 bearings, null entity. None of this deranged, each right reasoned. Molten poor, commerce breach. Perish by purloined. Simmer alive, coffer raid, flame absolves taint, dorsal severance, pact violation, frame fractured, legacy effaced, cranial mounds, vistas afar, felt dispatch, sanguine free for patricians, dismemberment, division attempted, division inflicted. The Mongol expanse subdued not by might alone, by calibrated intimidation, bastions yielded pre-volley. By 1279, from Korean shores to Magyar plains, 24 million square kilometers, 1/5 humanity under horde sway. Most beheld no warrior, merely lore. Lore compelled yield. Thus query not excess, but alchemy. How dread amassed paramount medieval asset. How such rites erected history's grandest terrestrial realm. Brilliance, aberration, duality, voice below. And should you persist through this odyssey of measured ferocity, join the Scarlet Chroniclers. Engage subscription. Such shadowed annals self-narrate not. They demand observers, demand recallers of the irksome facets. Lingering sans pledge? Disclose barrier candidly. Each response perused, for authentic chronicle encompasses not triumph soul, not expansion mere, but calibrated, methodical, indelible intimidation, forging dominions and redefining dominion's essence.